indicates that months ago in March, again, a state actor hacked into SolarWinds and planted within their software, which is an IT monitoring software suite. They just write software that everyone installs to keep an eye on their own systems. It's just like, here's how your computers are behaving today. They embedded a Trojan horse within SolarWinds monitoring systems that then, like automatic updates, it got shipped out to all their customers, and suddenly hundreds of thousands of SolarWind customers have compromised systems because they've all installed this compromised version of the monitoring software, thinking that they were just getting a routine update. So now we see the attacker is armed with freshly stolen weapons of mass cyber destruction from FireEye, and the gates are down at hundreds of thousands of systems around the world by virtue of this Trojan horse that's been shipped out from SolarWind. They're offensively armed and the shields are down. Now you start to get a sense of the environment that exists, that is one that is completely permissive of exactly the cyber pandemic Klaus Schwab was out there flapping his gums about.
But the cyber threats of tomorrow won't just make our information unsafe. They could make our physical world unsafe too. The cyber threats of tomorrow could disable the cars that we drive, the airplanes that we fly. They could turn off power or water to cities across the country for days or weeks or longer. They could incapacitate our military or even turn our own weapons against us. The cyber threats of tomorrow could affect anything that requires a networked computer to operate. And increasingly, that means everything.
The customers that SolarWind services, these 300,000 customers that they're talking about, although today they're trying to manage expectations, it was only 33,000 people that got the update and only about 18,000 of them installed it, so we're seeing. But take a look at who these 18,000 customers that suddenly, today, find out they have compromised systems are. The 300,000 customers span sectors including military, governments, businesses, and educations. More than 425 of the Fortune 500 companies use SolarWinds monitoring software, which had a Trojan horse all of a sudden in it. So the world's biggest companies, by and large, have vulnerable systems as of today, as of right now, including the Pentagon, the State Department, NASA, NOAA, the NSA itself, the Postal Service, the DOJ, the Department of Justice, and the President of the United States. In addition, all 5 US accounting firms and hundreds of universities and colleges around the world. Here's a little bit further look at these customers of SolarWind who are today finding out that their systems have been compromised and are vulnerable right now. Ameritrade, AT&T, we see telecom groups, we see investment firms and banks, ING Direct, McDonald's. We definitely see the food companies and supply chains, as well as lots of government systems. This is basically, you can imagine that any one of these companies, all of Siemens, right, all of which have huge operations comprising systems that do any number of functions, including run nuclear power plants, keep the power grid up and running, supply logistics and equipment to hospitals. All the things Klaus Schwab teased us about are now vulnerable because one of these companies can just turn a switch off and they have carte blanche to just blame, it was a cyber attack. That's why the grid went down. That's why you can't access your bank account balance today. That's why the hospitals won't be getting name it. Whatever basically they want to do over the coming weeks, turn off municipal water supplies, they can do, and they have this excuse to justify it. And we have seen, as I said, we've seen them testing the waters thus far at Americold, which would shut down grocery stores, frozen food in grocery stores, virtually overnight. Those shelves would run empty. We've certainly seen them yesterday hack into the Department of the Treasury. Again, just sort of testing the waters to see where they can get in. But the combination of this freshly obtained chest of cyber weapons of mass destruction and all of these companies, nearly the entire Fortune 500, suddenly having vulnerable systems is a potent one. In fact, it's so potent that the US Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency released yesterday, it's the first time they've invoked their emergency directives, saying that, hey, the fact that SolarWinds Orion monitoring product was compromised and was shipped out to all of these companies poses an unacceptable risk to the security of our federal networks. You now need to go immediately assess your exposure to this compromise and secure your networks against exploitation. In other words, if you had downloaded this Trojan horse in the SolarWinds monitoring software, you need to go right now and figure out if you've got a Trojan horse and patch it up, because this is an unacceptable situation. So I wanted to elucidate on these news reports a little bit, because while they tell you that FireEye was hacked and that SolarWinds has a problem, they don't make it clear that weapons of mass destruction were stolen by cyber terrorists with unprecedented state-level abilities, and everyone's back door is wide freaking open right now. The stage is set for anything you can imagine in the coming weeks. Now, who would stand to benefit from this kind of stuff going on? Well, look no further than the World Economic Forum's Cyber Polygon tabletop exercise, the Event 201 of this cyber pandemic. Of course, it was sponsored by the likes of, beyond the World Economic Forum itself, by IBM and a bunch of other partners. Now, of course, the globalists themselves, the UN, the World Economic Forum, all stand to benefit from something like this, because it is yet another of these global problems requiring global solutions. Oh, global warming, pandemics, cyber pandemics. And you'll hear that phrase, no one government or organization can save us. We need global governance. We need a super state with immense powers and surveillance to save us. And that's the appeal. That's the most basic idea of who benefits from a cyber pandemic. That's why Klaus Schwab is up there yelling about it. Beyond that, though, especially when you see attacks on Americold or other parts of the supply chain, IBM is the one who is rolling out right now their blockchain-based supply chain, which we've heard time and time again. I've talked about the Beast Systems architecture being comprising blockchain, AI, and awareness everywhere, 5G connectivity. IBM is absolutely in a position where a cyber pandemic like this that brings down normal computer systems would set the stage for them to say, well, we've got the solution. It's this distributed blockchain-based supply chain. It's more resilient to attacks. We just happen to be the people that sponsored it, created it, and yes, we're also the people that sponsored the cyber Polygon. So globalists and globalism agenda, IBM, and other blockchain-based solutions for these kinds of problems. And then also just the basic idea that security on the internet should be improved if you adopt the UN's digital biometric ID. Sorry, guys, we're going to have to track you on the internet now, thanks to those state-level hackers with unprecedented abilities. Yes, because of that, we're going to need to scan your retina or your fingerprints or whatever from now on, just so you can get online and leave a comment on your favorite website. Yeah, not without a facial scan, no. So all of these things are standing to benefit from the cyber pandemic rollout. And that's why they should be the first suspects when we see this agenda rolling forward at a breakneck speed. Let's leave it there. But this is absolutely something to keep an eye on and to brace for. I think it's clear that we'll see things in the coming weeks or months that have never been seen before. And they'll just say, oh, it's part of these cyber attacks. It's part of the cyber pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, you can find this report and all my reports on iceagefarmer.com. If you value this information and this broadcast, help me keep it running. You can find a few ways of doing that at iceagefarmer.com/support. That is a privately hosted server. As long as I keep it insulated from the cyber pandemics, it cannot be censored. It's not YouTube, so definitely bookmark iceagefarmer.com, the platform I have created to avoid censorship directly. I also, though, do post to bitchute.com/iceagefarmer and odyssey.com, which is the same as lbry.tv, because YouTube absolutely cannot be trusted at this point in time. Thanks for helping me spread the word, and let's go build great things.